The restaurant fell completely silent the moment. The young waitress answered the billionaire in the same flawless foreign language he had used to mock her. A fork slipped from someone's hand, glasses stopped halfway to waiting lips, and even the musicians in the corner lowered their instruments. As every eye turned toward the woman everyone had ignored only seconds before. Imagine standing in her place, knowing that every stranger around you believed you were too ordinary to understand what was being said about you. Would you stay silent to protect your dignity, or would you risk everything by revealing the truth? That single moment changed not only one expensive evening in New York City, but also the hearts of everyone who witnessed it. The waitress was a 26-year-old woman named Grace, who worked double shifts in an elegant Manhattan restaurant while caring for her widowed father, Thomas, whose failing kidneys had left him unable to work. Every morning before sunrise, she helped him take his medicine, prepared his breakfast, and caught 2 buses into the city. Her shoes were wearing thin, her hands carried tiny burns from countless plates, and her smile often hid nights without enough sleep. Customers rarely noticed the exhaustion behind her gentle kindness, because she treated every table with the same patience, whether they left generous tips or nothing at all. Many people assumed that because she served food, she lacked education or ambition. They never imagined that Grace had graduated near the top of her university class in linguistics before abandoning her dream career to care for the only family she had left. That evening, the restaurant welcomed one of its wealthiest regular customers, a powerful billionaire named Nathaniel. He was famous for multi-million-dollar investments, and equally famous for believing that money placed him above ordinary people. Expensive watches, tailored suits, and luxury cars surrounded his life, but humility never seemed to accompany them. As he arrived with several influential business associates from Europe, employees rushed to satisfy every request before it was spoken. Grace was assigned to serve the table because of her calm professionalism, though several co-workers quietly warned her that the billionaire enjoyed embarrassing staff whenever something amused him. Throughout dinner, Grace remained composed despite impossible requests and endless complaints. Water glasses were declared too full, then too empty. Plates were returned because vegetables had been arranged imperfectly. Every correction was delivered with an icy smile that carried more arrogance than gratitude. Yet Grace simply apologized and continued serving with remarkable grace, refusing to allow frustration to replace kindness. She had learned long ago that people often revealed more about themselves through cruelty than those receiving it ever could. Near the end of the meal, Nathaniel leaned toward his foreign guests and began speaking rapidly in Italian, convinced that no one around them could understand a single word. Smirking confidently, he described Grace as nothing more than a poor waitress, pretending to look intelligent. He joked that people like her were invisible unless they carried expensive plates, and suggested that perhaps she dreamed of marrying a wealthy customer to escape her ordinary life. The table erupted in restrained laughter, while Grace quietly poured fresh coffee. Every cruel sentence reached her ears with perfect clarity, because Italian had been one of the languages she had mastered during college. Still, she finished pouring every cup before lifting her eyes. When Grace finally answered, she spoke elegant Italian with such natural fluency that even Nathaniel's European guests stared at her in disbelief. Without raising her voice or showing anger, she thanked the guests for visiting America and gently expressed hope that they would remember the kindness of ordinary people, rather than the pride of those blessed with extraordinary wealth. She added that education could be hidden beneath a simple uniform just as character could disappear beneath an expensive suit. Her words contained no insults, only painful honesty. The billionaire's smile vanished instantly as he realized every cruel remark had been understood from the very beginning. An overwhelming silence settled across the dining room. Nathaniel's business partners looked at one another with visible embarrassment before quietly apologizing to Grace for laughing, without questioning his behavior. Several nearby diners who had overheard enough of the exchange lowered their heads, ashamed that they had watched the humiliation unfold, without speaking up. Grace simply collected the empty cups and prepared to walk away, believing the evening was finally over. She expected no apology, because experience had taught her that pride rarely surrendered easily. Before she reached the kitchen doors, an elderly customer seated nearby slowly stood. His name was Samuel, a retired school principal who had spent 4 decades encouraging children to respect every human being regardless of profession or appearance. With tears forming in his eyes, he thanked Grace for demonstrating more dignity in one difficult moment than many powerful people displayed throughout an entire lifetime. One by one, other customers began standing as well. Within moments, the entire restaurant rose to its feet in quiet applause, not because Grace had embarrassed the billionaire, but because she had answered cruelty with remarkable grace instead of revenge. Nathaniel remained seated, surrounded not by admiration but by uncomfortable silence. For perhaps the first time in years, his wealth could not purchase respect. He looked around the dining room and realized that every expensive achievement he had accumulated suddenly felt meaningless beside the quiet strength of a woman earning hourly wages while caring for her sick father. The applause echoed long after it ended, because the sound awakened something buried beneath decades of pride. That night, he drove home alone without turning on the radio, unable to escape the memory of Grace's calm voice. Several days later, Nathaniel returned to the restaurant without assistants or business partners. He requested Grace's section and waited until she approached his table. Instead of demanding service, he offered a sincere apology that surprised everyone nearby. He admitted he had spent years measuring people by income, titles, and appearance while forgetting that true greatness revealed itself through compassion. Grace accepted his apology without celebration, because forgiveness had always weighed less than resentment. During their conversation, Nathaniel learned about Thomas's illness and the sacrifices Grace had quietly made to keep her family together. Deeply moved, he arranged for Thomas's medical treatment to be fully funded through a charitable foundation, but only after ensuring Grace understood it came without obligations or publicity. Months later, Thomas's health improved enough for him to smile without pain again. Grace eventually accepted a position teaching languages at a community college, while continuing to volunteer at programs, helping immigrants learn English. Nathaniel also changed. Instead of chasing recognition for generous donations, he began anonymously supporting workers, students, and struggling families across New York. People noticed that the billionaire who once demanded attention now preferred acts of kindness no newspaper would ever print. His greatest investment had become humility, and its return transformed far more lives than any business deal ever had. Before this story ends, tell us in the comments if you had been Grace. Would you have answered immediately, or would you have quietly walked away? As the lights dimmed each evening inside that restaurant, people remembered that unforgettable silence before Grace spoke. It reminded everyone that dignity does not belong to the rich, intelligence cannot be judged by a uniform, and the kindest hearts often carry the heaviest burdens. Sometimes the strongest person in the room is not the one with the greatest fortune, but the one who chooses compassion when revenge would be easier. If this story truly touched your heart, please like, comment, share it with someone who needs this reminder, and subscribe for more emotional stories that celebrate kindness, hope, and the power of second chances.